Okay. All right, Jinesh, appreciate your time and glad you could join us. Ramdev Agrawal joins us now to discuss numbers, markets, and the way forward for the economy. Ramdev, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Let's talk about specifics of what transpired Motilal Oswal quarterly performance. Before I get into specifics, do you think we should not talk about the quarter gone by? We should talk about the current quarter and how business has changed for Motilal Oswal Financial Services?
Yes, I think Q4 definitely gives you some reality check, particularly for Motilal Oswal, because in Motilal Oswal, operating is 50% of the business, and another 50%, 60% is the investment portfolio. So the mark to market is a very big phenomenon in a scheme of things for Motilal Oswal. So March being what happened, at the last week of in 10 days. So market crashed virtually. So we have reported loss for the quarter, and because we made 100 crores usual operating profit, post-tax profit from the operations, but there was a 350 crores mark-to-market loss. That's the nature of the balance sheet, and hence there was a 250 crore loss. But this is just a optical kind of number. Actually, we should focus on the operating profit, because this portfolio now it is up by 150 crores. So this up and down will continue, and over a period of time it will give anywhere between 15 to 20% return on our own portfolio. So that goes on, but there will be optically quarter on quarter, year on year, there will be some up and down.
Let's break up the businesses into three parts, Mr. Agrawal: the brokerage business, the AUM business, and the HFC business. What are the trends looking like in the first 45-50 days of this quarter for the brokerage business? Because now that everything is automated, I would imagine the brokerage business also must be the stable piece for you.
Yes, it is very surprising. Sorry, can you hear me, Nikunj?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so the first 45 days is a big surprise for brokerage business, in the sense that despite 90% people are working from home, we could do record number of trades. In almost every week, we are breaking the records in terms of number of trades being executed. And the client service levels, I'm most proud of the fact that my clients are very happy, whether local clients, retail clients, or global FIIs. So I think client satisfaction is very high. Execution rates are at the high, because volatility is very high. So broking has done very well in last 45 days. But if you look at the and even the client acquisition has been at the highest rate in last 45 days. So we are increasing number of registrations, we are increasing number of active clients, and in any case, as I said, the number of trades are at the highest. Of course, the value of the trade is impacted by the mark to market. Say if index is down by 20%, clearly the per unit price of the trade is little lower. But combination of growth in volume and little lower rate, probably our brokerage would be at even level. I mean, there is no decline in the brokerage.
What about AMC business? Your AMC is a largely equity based AMC. The good bit is that the problems have happened in debt, they've not happened in the equity business. Is your AMC business looking okay? Because you don't have too many SIPs, but you do have a large lump sum which used to come to your schemes, and that seems to be drying up.
Yeah. So asset management business is very interesting. One that I was from 2008 onwards, I was clear that I cannot handle debt business. So we stayed away from this, and so that kept us in good shape. We remained completely focused on equity businesses and quality equity business. And this is the first time when we are passing through this kind of uncertainty in the market with a seriously large AUM. And what we have seen is that this business is impacted by your AUM on daily basis. So as the 40,000 crores AUM became 30,000, or even I think it went even lower than that, about 27,000 crores or so at the bottom of the market. So clearly your fee, the income goes down by that much, and your expenses stand wherever it is. So to that extent, and then now market has bounced back. Again, it is that 27,000 has become 33,000. So that's how it goes on. But real thing is to figure out how well we are doing, how my managers are doing scheme wise through this turbulent market. That's the biggest test of our QGLP philosophy.
No, but since we are addressing numbers here, what I want to understand is that based on the first 6 weeks of this quarter, what is your understanding of where the AMC business in terms of profitability will grow? Because if the net assets under management comes down, your fees comes down. So what could be the dramatic drop in the AMC business? Because it's natural to assume that there will be a drop.
Yeah. So basically, it all depends on the average AUM through the year. My cost is kind of fixed. I have a good control over my cost. But say this year we have done about 188, 190 crores kind of profit. So if my AUM, I mean, an average AUM must have been about 38, 39,000 crores. So if my average AUM turns out to be say 20% lower through the year, so my gross revenue would be a revenue applicable to me would be down by 20%, and my cost cannot go down by 20%. So maybe 5% cost will go down. So I would expect about 20-25% reduction in the profit if the index don't recover in through the year. So from 190 crores, we can see profit definitely coming down to maybe 150, 160 crores.
Let's now talk about the NBFC business. It's a space where every NBFC is struggling right now because mutual funds are not lending to them. B, NPAs are likely to rise. You run a tight HFC business which went through trouble couple of quarters ago, and now you managed to sail the ship back. But when you are able to get the ship back in the sea or high seas, the COVID crisis has happened. What's the update there?
Yeah, so you exactly put it the situation. I mean, but the trouble was not 2 quarters before; it was 2 years back, and we were among the first one to hit the rough weather. So we used this 2.5 years very diligently, and Motilal ji, Naveen, I mean, they all came on top of it, and we cleaned up everything absolutely, like not even 100%. We cleaned up 110%. And so much so that though our book is still declining till last month, I mean, because our marketing is not as aggressive as the repayments. So my book has come down from say 4,800 at the peak to more like 3,700 crores. So because of repayments and bad debts write-off. So we cleaned up the book completely, and we even created ARC of 250 odd crores. And we brought down the gross NPA to less than 2% and net NPA to about 1.5%. And even CRISIL was impressed with the entire effort of recapping the company and cleaning up the act. And they have upgraded the rating by a notch, I mean, which is A minus kind of thing. So it is quite an achievement in this environment to for an NBFC, small NBFC, to get a upgrade, that too from CRISIL. So I think that's a good achievement. This is going to help us get a better quality liability at lower prices, and we are completely calibrated because what we have done, about 500 crores kind of lending in last say 2.5 years, the incremental, there it is literally zero NPA. So I mean, I'm talking about pre-COVID kind of situation. So we know what works. Now the issue is that, as you said, I mean, we're just about to sail into the sea. So now we'll pass through this COVID period very, very cautiously, and then I mean, I hope the tuition fee is paid for learning this business. Clearly, I mean, bulk of the tuition fee is paid, and hopefully, like any other business, after 5-6 years, this is now going to get into its own growth mode.
Now everyone, Mr. Agrawal, is trying to understand that what will happen to FY21 earnings. When we talk about markets, that's your concern also, that nobody knows what FY21 earnings would be. So if I have to address this question for Motilal Oswal Financial Service shareholders, how do they understand that For a firm which is a firm which has three parts, the brokerage part, a small NBFC part, and a very strong AMC part, how will FY21 move? I mean, will it be a washout year? Are you in a position to give me a guidance?
Nico, in broking business, you cannot guide for even next month, forget about the year. Broking and asset management is very predictable. We talked about the numbers. I mean, there could be, it all depends on amount of correction in the index. But there is no fear in the market, and I don't see any kind of run on the asset class itself. So the kind of fear which we see in the debt market, we don't see that kind of fear in the equity markets. So I would think that say 400 crores kind of a profit. I mean, leave aside the mark to market. I mean, we can have a mark to market plus 250 crores again or 350 crores. That's a different thing. But operating side, from 400 crores, I would say, I mean, the pessimistic would be 300 crores and optimistic could be, I mean, I would say not more than 400. So 300 to 400 crores kind of a operating profit we must have, and then mark to market whatever we have.
Okay. How does one understand your mark to market? Because I would imagine that the numbers what we are discussing, they are for the quarter gone by, which is 31st of March. That's the time markets they came down. So what would be that number at which you would say, look, below this my mark to market losses will increase and above this my mark to market losses would increase? Is there a level which investors should understand that if Nifty is at 7,500, mark to market losses, if Nifty is 10,000, mark to market gains?
Yeah, it's a very simple, like if the Nifty is at 8,000 on 31st March 2020, and if it is say 10,000 on 31st March 2021, that's a 33% increase in the index. I would think that if there is no further addition to the AUM, so we should at least make 1/3 gain. So on 1,500 crores, it should be 500 crores, or give and take. If we have done very well, it may be 550 crores, and if we have done little poor, maybe it is 450, 475 crores. So it is exactly in the short run, it is proportional to the movement in the index.
Okay, fair point. Okay, when we spoke last, we had heard from Warren Buffett on why he's not investing. And post his so-called admission that, look, I'm sitting on cash, I've not invested a single penny, markets have gone higher. Why? I mean, why are markets, or global markets for that matter, and US markets for that matter, ignoring a so-called poor outlook or a poor commentary from Buffett that if he is not buying, that means there is no value in the market, and yet markets, they continue to climb the wall of worry. Are you a bit surprised with the global strength and the local strength, and you think there is a red light flashing somewhere now?
Yeah, so clearly there is some, I mean, in our understanding, market is always right, because this is one place where you can go and do whatever you want. So it is absolutely wrong in saying that market is wrong and we are right. In fact, we are wrong in understanding the market, but our understanding is our understanding. I have to go by my understanding. My understanding, and even what I hear from Buffett's speech, it was path-breaking speech, and he went out of way to present number of slides, and I think he was very clearly drawing. I mean, he said we are into biggest unknown. In his own life, it is the biggest unknown. It's a big statement to make. Second, the only parallel he sees is the trouble when they saw it in 29, when he was also just about born. In 1930 he was born. So he has not experienced himself, but he decided to iterate that experience of 29 and 30, where in 29, index came down from 350 odd Dow to 200, and 200 went to about 260. And that 20% pullback, or 25% pullback, a lot of people thought that we are done with the recession or impact in the market. And then in next 2 years, by I think sometime in July, August 1932, I think the index finally hit 41.22, more than 82% of correction. So you don't know what he's saying is, we don't know what the markets will do. Right now we are surprised by the strength of the market. you would be surprised at some point of time by the weakness of the market. So nobody knows. So actually, he doesn't know. I also don't know. I mean, many times I am surprised for the day itself. When I think that market could be down, at that day it is up by 3%. So there are so many forces moving. Interest rates are zero. Alternative investments are not there. And there is always a news about this vaccine coming or killer medicines coming. So there are a lot of hopes. But I think zero interest rate and plenty of liquidity across the world is one thing where equity values in the short run would be quite fuzzy. So I think that's the confusion for us to. I mean, the strength of the market has clearly defied my little pessimistic feel.
Do you think there is a lot of money to be made in corporate banks, large ones, SBI, ICICI Bank? You know, right now the view in the market is that moratorium will get lifted, banks will have a renewed NPA cycle, and these stocks are getting punished. I mean, I get absolutely amazed when I see a stock like SBI trade at 160 rupees. I get absolutely amazed when I see the crack what we've seen in an ICICI Bank in last 2 or 3 days. Do you think the pessimism in corporate banks and the fear of NPAs, are they realistic or are they overdone?
See, Nikunj, lenders have very big problem. It is not about one guy or other. Lenders, by very nature, all the risk of all the businesses, they finally converge in the lender's book. And as the COVID starts becoming deeper, longer, and government action, even on the fiscal front, becomes delayed or becomes muted, everything, all the risk is getting consolidated into lender's book. In some lenders book less, in some lenders book, depending on the client profile, it is a little more. But if you think about it, I mean, where else all this, say, GDP losses must be running into lakhs of crores for at least 2-3 months. I mean, the first 2 months, I think our GDP losses must be, say, even 25-30%. So we do about 16-17 lakh crores per month GDP. In that, if you have even 25% loss, so we are talking 4 to 5 lakh crores of economic value lost. So where exactly it is getting, who is getting hit? The poor guys, the borrowers, the poor borrowers, whether it's in individual, MSME, or even the badly run corporates, they will all get hit. And they all have, in fact, the bad guys have borrowed more from the banks. So even if only 25-30% of the borrowers they get hit, I think the hit can be quite bad. Markets in the short run is actually short term. So today's pessimism, today's opinion is reflecting in today's valuations. And tomorrow, if there is a vertical recovery, V-shaped recovery, what the government is expecting, if that were to happen, clearly from these levels, you will see V-shaped kind of recovery in their prices, and hence it could be a very speculative bet at some price. What happened in 2008 also? I think all the lenders, they made a lot of money, and it was a vertical kind of rise from the bottoms. But what is the bottom? That's the key issue.
Who will kickstart or kindle the economy, Mr. Agrawal? You know, in 2008 when it happened, yes, bad news. But after that, the merchant power opportunity got created where private players, they started expanding and investing in merchant power. It did not do well, but that is separate, but that did well. We saw influx of money moved into China, and commodity cycle really moved into a mini bull market, so to speak. So what I'm trying to understand is that whenever economy will pick up, somebody has to drive the consumption demand, somebody will have to drive the investment demand. Who will be the disproportionate beneficiary of the economic recovery?
So, I mean, it is very difficult to say right now, is there any emergence of new powerful engine to be beneficiary of this post-COVID recovery. One thing is for sure, there will be post-COVID recovery, whether it is a V-shape, L-shape, U-shape, that only time will tell. And there will be also emergence of new businesses which would look very, very strong. Like one of the things which I see is that technology, telecom technology has emerged, it will emerge as a much stronger business. They are not hurt in this point of time, and they will actually emerge under the dependence of the masses on technology has increased, and hopefully there is a little pricing power also in the telecom. So I think we have to go one by one. Even the lenders will do very well from some point of at some point, in the sense that once the full risk is priced in, because the incremental GDP from here, from 3 trillion to 6 trillion, will have a far more intensity of credit, and the number of credit lending organization will be far fewer. So the opportunity even pre-COVID was very good, but now post-COVID, for the successful surviving and growing lenders will have a far bigger upside and much better margin, I would think. So like this, you have to keep thinking, where are those, when the results come, see, right now it's all about the past, past image, that this bank is good, this NBFC is good. But once the result comes post moratorium is over, then we'll realize who was really underwriting very well. So this time clearly, and the ones who are underwriting very well, they will be able to smoothly pass through the bad time, and then you'll get time to log on to them meaningfully. So we have to go very, very carefully, which are the businesses, which are the managements, and this is a real test of quality for all the businesses, even in consumer. The ones who don't have a good product, good customer loyalty, I think they will fall by the wayside. So it's a very interesting post-COVID recovery investment opportunity, and one has to take call one by one.
What patterns do you think will emerge in consumption? The play which everyone played was buy Nestle, because it is a play on buying increase in per capita consumption or increase in going up the value chain. Do you think now the reverse will do well, where people will not buy a flavored milk, they will buy normal milk? You will not buy fancy shoes, you will buy normal shoes. Do you think we are in for trouble for branded stroke high-end FMCG companies? And right now some of these FMCG companies are holding on, but given that there would be job losses, psyche of the consumer will change, ability to spend will increase, are we in for a large consumer decline? It may not happen in one quarter, but next 6-8 months, are we likely to see a huge crunch in consumer stroke consumption stroke consumer discretionary?
Nikunj, it is at this juncture, how much will be change in the consumer behavior in terms of one of the things is that work from home. So if it is very broad, if the COVID thing doesn't go away very quickly, then this habit of working from home, newer technologies, better technologies, that will become absolutely big time. You'll see the versions and versions of Zoom and many other Microsoft Team and Blue Jeans, all these things will come, and it will make working from home or distance working at a distance real. So this is the biggest test of this technology, and it will lead to a lot of consumer behavior change. So eat at home or ready to cook or packaged products, where Nestle kind of companies or even Lever, they are global majors. They have thousands and thousands of brands and products, and they have a capability to tailor make what you need. So I think those companies, those kind of companies have much brighter future. And second, which are the invincible business models? Invincibility of the companies in terms of they make money in good time for sure, but they make as much money in bad time. That invincibility of business model is being tested now. So I think these companies have stood up well. At least the people think that these business models are not broken, and hence the market is giving them longevity. That okay, every 5, 7, 10 years there will be problems, but these companies, they have tested COVID very well, and hence for next 50 years they are given a full kind of a red carpet for them to sustain and grow. And in any case, Indian economy will keep growing at 5-6% hopefully for next 20 to 25 years. So in that backdrop of a sustained moderate growth of Indian economy, these businesses are invincible, and that's why the longevity of the invincibility and cash flow is giving them the very lofty valuations. And it's not that only at this point of time it is valuable. If you look back 20-25 years of P multiples of all these companies, they are, I mean, they have moved up and down, but they have seen 60-65 P multiples even in 90s. So the reasons were different at that point of time. Television had come first time, advertisement was becoming easier, consumer growth was very high. So, but you don't know how, if they are not able to grow beyond 5, 6, 7% for next 10, 15 years, obviously the current valuations are high.
Agarwal, appreciate your time. Always look forward to our interactions. You always are very frank and very vocal about what you think, and thank you for outlining your numbers and what shareholders of Motilal Oswal Securities should expect. Let's take a break. We are below 9100.